Today I've got all sorts of great comic books to show you, including what's now the oldest Avengers comic book in my collection, and I'm going to show you my giant-sized man thing. Don't say you weren't warned. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm excited to share some comic books with you today that I purchased from Nucadia. Thanks for joining me. We're going to get started with a question that the thumbnail asked. What the heck is this? Elson's presents DC Superheroes. This is issue number 2. And that's exactly what I thought when I stumbled upon this. And the price was good enough that I said, I'm just going to take a chance and buy it because it's kind of odd. And I just want to have one in my comic book collection. So I learned a lot more about this since I purchased it. Let me fill you in on what I've learned. Elson's is a type of newsstand that's found in the northeastern part of the United States. I don't know if they're still in operation or not, or they were found inside hotels as well. And they did an experiment with DC Comics in late 1980, early 1981. What they did was DC took some comic books that I believe just didn't sell, that were returned to them. They removed the covers from 3 different comic books and then put them all together as one comic book exclusive to Elson's for them to sell on their newsstand. Isn't that odd? And some people say, well, the comic books inside are reprints. They are not reprints because they have the indicia for each issue. They have the original letter columns, and they have all of the original advertisements that were in the individual issues. It's just that the covers were removed from 3 different comic books and then all bound together into one. There are 6 different Elson's Presents comic books. And the one I have is issue number 2. This reprints Superman, issue 355, Ghost, issue 96, and Justice League of America, issue 186. So that's all the contents inside of this specific issue. And as I said, there's 6 different, all of the covers are the same image. This awesome DC Comics stock art that they used for several different projects in the early 1980s. But the difference is the background color. So one might be blue or purple or green or yellow. So that's how you know the difference between each issue. It's just so crazy, such a crazy comic book that I just wanted to have one in my collection. Sometimes you can find them at really good prices, like I was able to this time. Other times you can see books like this go for $40 or more, not even in mint condition either. So it's just kind of crazy. So I'm happy just to have one in my collection for the rarity and the oddity of it. And that's going to start out our comic book editions video today. So going through my CLZ recently, I noticed this with a couple different miniseries where I'm like 1 issue away from having the full run. And I'm like, why don't I have that? Why didn't that run get completed? So I thought I want to start filling in some of those, especially where I'm just 1 issue away from having the full miniseries. And one that I didn't have was issue 1 for JLA Titans. It was only a 3-issue miniseries with connecting covers, I should add. And I don't know why I don't have issue 1. What I think happened, if I can remember, decades back when this was a new issue, I know I bought 3 off the stand because it had a great Wonder Woman versus Donna Troya image. And I think I found issue number 2 at a half-price books right around that same time. And I always thought, well, I'll pick up issue 1 eventually. And I never did and just kind of forgot about it until I was flipping through my CLZ and noticed that hole. And I said, it's not an expensive book. Let's just get it and fill in this miniseries so that's complete. So I've done that with a couple other miniseries too recently, and I want to keep doing that. Especially, like I said, when it's only 1 or 2 issues that I'm away from having the full series. That's stupid of me not to have the full series when I'm that close. Do you remember that awesome AOK that J Hood Creative sent me? First of all, if you never watched that video, please watch that when this video wraps up. It was just awesome, and he did this amazing custom sketch cover for me. Well, he included some comic books in there too, and one that I was so excited about him including was Steel, the Indestructible Man. That series only lasted 5 issues. It wasn't a limited series. It was supposed to be a regular series, but became a victim of the DC implosion. So he sent me issue 1, 4, and 5. So I went to Nucadia to fill in that hole and got issue number 2. I love the bright yellow colors, especially with the Steel covers. I noticed you hear me so often talk about I've just drawn to the bright colored covers, and the Steel covers have a lot of bright colors in them. Now, when it comes to Steel, I see issue number 1 in the wild frequently. But the other 4 issues, quite honestly, I don't see that often in the wild. Happy to have this one. And to go with it, so I have a complete set, here is issue number 3. So now that I have these 2 issues, and along with the J. Hood Creative ones that he sent me, I have all 5, the complete set, and I want to sit down like on a Saturday afternoon and read them one right after the other and enjoy the entire, I don't know if it's a 5-issue story arc or what, but I just want to enjoy the entire series in one sitting with my reading. I think that would be a great Saturday afternoon, nothing to do type fun event for me. So this is another cool cover too. I've been thinking about getting a lot of the Wonder Woman guest appearances that I missed out. For the longest time, I was only buying the Wonder Woman title. Very rarely would I buy another issue, even if she made a guest appearance in that. My collecting on that aspect has changed some, especially in recent years. But going back and getting comic books that I don't have that Wonder Woman guest starred in, here's a Green Lantern Volume 2, issue number 73. Now, while this is not John Byrne artwork, it is the John Byrne style of Wonder Woman, the way that he drew her, which at the time this was a current issue, was the way that she was depicted. This was a fun story too, with Kyle and Diana spending some quality time together. Not that type of quality time, but great cover. Happy to have this one into the collection too. I've been aware of it, almost since its existence probably. Don't know why I'd never picked it up before. Not an expensive book, but I have it now. I know Tim the Comic Collector will give this video a thumbs up just for the sheer fact that I bought this. I'm pretty positive he will. I want to turn my attention now to Marvel. This comic book, Fun and Games. Have you ever bought a Fun and Games comic book? Happy to say, first of all, this one is completely unused. None of the games are filled in inside. I have a couple of these issues from my childhood where I did use a pen and played some of the games inside, but maybe I'll upgrade those someday. I really wanted to get this because you see amazing artwork inside here, a lot of stat artwork, but sometimes you see images that weren't used anywhere else. And this cover is so wild, with all of these floating heads on Spider-Woman's hair. Fun and Games isn't a title I see very often in the wild, but in my defense, I don't always go out hunting and searching for Fun and Game. Well, correction. I go out in the wild searching for Fun and Games. I don't always go out in the wild searching for Fun and Games comic books. They're not expensive or anything either. It's just fun. And I thought this would be great to have in the collection. Maybe someday. I think the run was only 13 issues, maybe 14 max, but I think it was 13. Maybe I'll try to fill them all in. I don't know. Just fun. And I bet Comics for Thomas likes that Nova floating head there. Which is actually kind of cool because Nova was a relatively newer character at the time that this was published. So speaking of my friend Comics for Thomas, he has been killing it in his personal collection with pre-issue 100 Avengers. I mean, he is knocking it out of the ballpark. I'm so excited for him every time that he tells me he got another one. Well, I kind of got inspired by him, and I was able to get a great deal on a comic book of Avengers that's now the oldest comic book in my collection. So before I bought this issue number 28 of Avengers was my oldest Avengers comic book in my collection, and that's a great issue to have because that's a big key issue for a couple reasons. But now, my oldest Avengers comic book in my collection is the one before it, issue number 27. I think this cover's pretty trippy, pretty wild, pretty Silver Agey. Story was kind of fun too. I just can't get over Scarlet Witch. You know, she's kind of that pose she's doing as she's drowning. So I don't know. It's fun. It's awesome. Hopefully I can get some more issue 100 or pre-issue 100 Avengers for my collection too. Even though I'm working on a run between 170 and 280, and I'm only a dozen issues away on that, I'll probably be focusing on that a little bit more. But sometimes opportunities present themselves like they did at this time to get this issue of Avengers, and you just got to take advantage of it. This is a purchase I don't regret at all. I don't regret any of the books I'm showing you today, but especially not this one. It's awesome. And I've had that Avengers 28 for a long time. So for this to become now the oldest Avengers comic book in my collection, that broke a record that was held for decades. Well, when you watch Michael Ackery's channel, he doesn't warn you. He just whips out his giant-sized man thing and shows it. I at least gave you a heads up in the intro to this video that this was coming. Giant-sized man thing issue number 2. This is what my giant-sized man thing looks like because I know you've been wondering. Of course, I bought it for the novelty of saying that I have a giant-sized man thing and can provide pictures of it. You know, Man-Thing is a character that I don't always, I don't really gravitate to, but the stories I've read of Man-Thing, I really enjoy him, despite the fact that he has that Snuffleupagus type nose and face. And this issue was really good. Now I have Man-Thing, I think it's volume 2, issue number 1, which I got for free, and just read it one night just for the funsies of it, and thought the story was really good and was really impressed with how good it was. Well, I bought this for the novelty and the funsies of it, as I said, to say that I have a giant-sized Man-Thing. But when I read the story was really good. I don't think this cover is all that great, and it might be the coloring on it. But essentially what happens in this story is Man-Thing is captured from the swamp in Florida, and he's taken to be essentially a freak show in New York City as an attraction, a money-making attraction. And I think it's at Carnegie Hall. And this is the story of kind of what happens there. And it just was a good story. So, I say I'm not, really attracted to Man-Thing comic books, but all the ones I've read so far have been pretty good. So this is probably a character I really do enjoy, and that was even a surprise to me. One more book I want to show you today. You might remember, even though I haven't talked about it in a while, I am working on my Daredevil collection, especially the issues where Black Widow was a guest star and then became a co-headliner on Daredevil. This is towards the end of her run on Daredevil, issue number 123. It's one that I didn't have, so I scooped it up when the opportunity presented itself from Nucadia. Had a promo code that was good for it, for that issue, and happy to have that. So, like I said, it's been a while since I showed some Daredevil, but I haven't forgotten about that. I'm also kind of working on my Green Lantern comic books where Green Arrow and Black Canary were guest stars as well. So that brings us to a close for today's Comic Book Editions video. I'd love to know what you thought about the comic books that I showed you today. Yes, I'm going to say it because I'm punny. What did you think of my giant-sized man thing? What did you think about the Avengers comic book? Any of these? Do you have any of these? Are you now looking for some of these because I showed them? That Elson's Presents, did you know about that? Or was I just like one of the last people to ever know about that? If you've ever been to an Elson's newsstand or have more information about that, share that in the comment section below and educate me and the rest of those who stop by my channel. I would appreciate it. Your comments are always welcome and encouraged and appreciated here. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I hope this is the time that you'll do so. Clicking the notification bell will inform you when new content is added to the channel. Share this video on the channel with someone that you think might be interested in my content. That's a great way to show support. And give the video a thumbs up, a heart, a like, because that means a lot to me as well. Thank you for your support of my YouTube channel. Couldn't do this without you, nor would I want to. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and thanks for stopping by this Comic Book Editions video today. Take care.